When the Nissan Frontier was redesigned in 2022, it was a huge deal for a couple of reasons. Mainly because the Frontier had been the same since 2005, and we thought maybe we would never see the day when it would become redesigned, but also it gave this truck a sliver of a chance to be the newest in the segment, because the Ranger, the Colorado, the Tacoma, those were all still very old. Of course, in the following years, all of those trucks have become new, and now, once again, the Nissan Frontier is the oldest in the segment, but it's been facelifted for 2025. This week, I've been living with it, and today we're going to talk about what that's been like. So this one in front of us is finished in Afterburn orange. This is actually a new color for the 25 model year. It's a Pro-4X trim, so kind of top of the line with the SL, pretty similarly priced. Starts around $41,000. This one as spec'd, just over 50 grand, which honestly is pretty similarly priced to all of the other mid-size trucks in the segment. This is kind of the last one on my list that I had to drive. I drove one of these back in 2022 when it was redesigned, but it's been so long I don't really remember what that was like. So now that I've driven them all recently, we can kind of compare and contrast, and hopefully we can kind of reach a verdict of which truck in the segment makes the most sense. But today we're going to commute this to downtown, because the reality of it is people buy these as daily drivers. So I want to show you what it's like to actually live with this Nissan Frontier Pro-4X. So before we do that, before we poke around this thing, let's go over some basics. This is still powered by a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6. It makes 310 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque. It has a 9-speed automatic transmission, and since this is the Pro-4X, it is 4-wheel drive. We have an electronically locking rear differential. The Pro-4X gets special Bilstein struts, some revised suspension components, and these are actually not the standard wheels. These are an optional 17-inch Beadlock capable wheel, and we're running some, just to be blunt about it, garbage Hankook Dynapro AT2 tires. These are in a 265/70R17 squared setup. Not the best all-terrain tire, and you'll kind of see that through the lack of grip in today's drive. But otherwise, it's been lightly facelifted, like I said, for 2025, and I love this new front-end design. These little slits here in the grille kind of harken back to the late 80s Nissan hardbody. I think it looks fantastic. We have these red tow hooks, red Nissan badges that let you know that this is a Pro-4X, and overall, I love that this still just looks unapologetically like a pickup truck. They haven't gone crazy with the styling on this, and I think that's another part of why I love this so much. It's just an honest machine, and sometimes you just want your pickup truck to be an honest machine. This can tow 6,680 pounds, payload is like 1,600, something like that. This has a 5-foot bed, but now in 25, Nissan will actually sell you a 6-foot bed, even in the Pro-4X configuration. One of the option packages on this truck gets us this spray and bed liner. We have this clever Utilitrex, I don't know, whatever Nissan calls this, I'll put it here on the screen, but you can see kind of a cargo solution back here for things, but no fancy power tailgates or anything like that. We do have, I believe our tailgate's a little bit different for 2025 as well, but otherwise it's unchanged. It's the same that it's been since 2022, which really isn't all that long, but just remember, this thing was the same for 17 years before this redesign. So with that same logic, this will be the same until 2039. Is that right? But it's super cold out. Let's go ahead and we'll poke around this thing. We'll start in the back seat. We'll show you under the hood, and then we'll go out on the road and we'll show you what it's like to drive. So the Pro-4X does not come standard with leather. This one has it in one of its option packages. Really nice kind of perforations here in the middle. Some of that orange accenting, not unique to the Afterburn orange exterior, just because this is a Pro-4X trim. We get lots of this red and orange detailing. Back seat's a little tight, but honestly, I have plenty of room sat behind myself here at 5'11". These are both power seats, so easy to move front and back. You don't get, I don't think, any adjustment to this back seat at all, but these do lift up, and we do have some storage underneath them. Fold down armrest here in the middle with 2 cup holders. We don't have our own climate control panel back here, but we get a USB-C, a USB-A, and a wall-style outlet. Always nice to have wall-style outlets in pickup trucks if you're out in the woods or the desert or something doing utilitarian things. You can plug your accessories in there. Give you a little glimpse up front. We're not quite going to jump up there yet. We actually have to walk around to the other side of the truck because you only have storage on half of the back seat. The other half just has nothing under it, as you can see there, but little storage cubby. And are these drains actually to the bottom of the truck? They might be. Cool. Put that back down. Otherwise, you know, amenities aren't too crazy back here. At least you have a padded elbow rest. You've got more cup holders in the door panels. And I think overall, Nissan gets too much of a bad rap. And this is probably one of their nicest products. Just the way that it's built, the way it's put together, does feel pretty high quality. Let's jump under the hood. Also consider, this is the only naturally aspirated V6 left in the midsize truck segment. Everything else either has a turbo 4-cylinder or a turbo V6 if you get up into the higher trims of some of the trucks. So there it is, our naturally aspirated 3.8 liter. You can see some cost-cutting measures here. They haven't painted under the hood. I don't know, I don't think this is a pre-production truck. It has a normal VIN. So this is probably how they come. Even the tops of the fenders are not painted. It's a little bit strange to see. I suppose you don't really open your hood all that often, but part of how they're able to sell this to you for so cheap, I suppose, is they don't paint in the cracks. It's like it goes through the paint booth with the hood shut, and the fenders are like already on it when they paint it. It's a wonder they actually get into the door sills here. You can see those are painted. But anyway, let's show you the front seats here in this Frontier PRO-4X. Nice PRO-4X embroidered here onto the seats. Love to see that. Even more orange accenting here on our door panels. You can see some of this here. I mean, not too much detail on this, but we do have some decent materials. This is actually kind of like a leather wrapped material here around our door handle. Extra room for cups in the door panels, and then we have a 10-speaker Fender sound system. That is an option that does not come standard, and we'll make sure to test that out for you once we are out on the road. I'm going to start this up right away because I am freezing. Turn signals on for some reason. These Frontiers now also all get a tilting and telescoping steering wheel. I think you could probably always get it on the PRO-4X, but now the base models get it as well, standard. And the biggest change to our interior is this 12.3-inch infotainment system now gets wireless Android Auto. It still has wireless Apple CarPlay as it did before. And the funniest thing about this is you can see that they haven't changed like the software on the screen. So we still have, this is how big the old screen was. They've just added on this little bit of extra room. And if you're playing music, it does pop up over here. And the only thing that really matters is that your CarPlay fills the whole screen. So I'll go ahead and plug my phone in. I've had a couple weird buggy issues with wireless Apple CarPlay, so I've elected to just have my phone wired for ease of use. You can see that does actually fill the entire screen. So it's really not that big of a deal that if you go here, even your map only fills that much. But it is what it is. We'll actually just leave it like that. Leave my phone down here. Pretty good amount of places to put things in this Nissan Frontier. You can see I have a little cubby in front of the shifter, 2 cup holders, wireless charger behind, and a super deep center console. Very important thing for a pickup truck is you need lots of places to put all of your stuff, and you could fit a lot of stuff there in that center console. Glove box is a little bit flimsy feeling. You can see this handle looks like it just kind of wants to fall off and give up, but it's doing the thing. It's staying put. Leather stitching here on the dashboard. Another cubby up here in front of the infotainment screen. We even get a moonroof on this. You've got a place to put your sunglasses. No fancy camera mirror or anything, but honestly, I think everything you need is here. We still have a physical climate control panel. Not a surprise for this being a Nissan. They are always a little bit behind, and that is really what I love so much about this truck. As I told you on the outside, the interior is pretty much the same way. Everything feels a little bit old. It's chunky, it's functional, and it's exactly what a pickup truck should be. We have a heated steering wheel. We have 2 settings for our heated seats. The only thing I don't super love is this obnoxious Frontier badging here below the infotainment. The only good thing is that it does kind of liven this interior up a bit, gives it a little bit more color and dimension. I just think, I don't know, maybe they could have put something else right there. I know I'm driving a Frontier. You don't have to be reminded every second in massive orange text that I'm driving a Frontier. In front of us here, a really nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. We have orange stitching, of course, because this is the Pro-4X. Steering wheel buttons work okay. They are surrounded by piano black, so this does get kind of dusty and greasy. In front of the steering wheel, a normal analog gauge cluster with a digital display in the middle. I think this looks really nice. Just about all you need. This Frontier has been getting about 17.8 miles to the gallon this week. Average at the EPA rates is about 18, so pretty accurate to that. We've driven 227 miles of mixed driving, some highway, some city. But, okay. I think that's about it in this interior. I mean, we don't really have too much to show you, so why don't we jump out on the road, show you what it's like to live with this 2025 Nissan Frontier. Normal floor shifter, love to see it. Nothing clever. And now we get this 360 camera with the 2025 facelift as well. Probably some of the worst graphics for a backup camera, worst quality, I should say. But at least it has a 360 camera now. It would be nice to see them put some new cameras in this truck. Especially with off-roading, you do want to have high definition. And then you guys saw me turn off that foot parking brake that we have down there on the left. Into drive. Driving this truck is a little bit of a learning curve because it does drive a bit older than it is, as it looks, as it feels inside, as we know. But the oldest feeling thing about it is something that I actually really like, and that is the hydraulic power steering. This does not have an electronically assisted power steering rack, so the steering is super heavy. So my biggest takeaway from when I drove one in 2022 was just how dang heavy this steering is. But it just makes it feel like a hard body, like it's an old pickup truck with heavy steering. Also, throttle tuning, quite jumpy. You have to be very careful, and we don't really have any drive modes in here. We have tow mode, which is kind of like your... Come on. You want a grip. I know you want a grip. Traffic is coming. So, the combination of the very aggressive throttle tuning and these garbage hand-cooked tires means you're just peeling out everywhere if you're in two-wheel drive. Oh, yes. We also have a warning light for low washer fluid, even though the washer fluid isn't low, so some sort of an issue with the sensor, I assume. The good news is, as long as traction control isn't limiting you too much, you do have enough power and torque with this 3.8-liter V6 to actually get out of your own way. 0 to 60 is about 7 seconds with this truck, which I think is fine. I think we're so jaded by just how fast everything is nowadays, and electric vehicles didn't help the cause for that. But there's no need for this Frontier to be any faster than it is, in my opinion. That was flat out. Brake pedal feel, on the other hand, is quite nice. No real complaints with that. Feels as it should. Look at that Nissan Versa. 3 different colored body panels. Love to see it. It is kind of the spirit of Nissan. You know, they can be beaten and bruised, but they'll still keep going. 110 up the left lane, bumpers hanging off, windows busted out, replaced with a trash bag. But it's still running as long as the CVT hasn't exploded. But this one's got a proper 9-speed auto, so we don't have to worry about that. These Bilstein dampers do a great job. Okay, once we go around this corner, I want to talk about the ride on this Frontier. With the slow pokes today, that's all right. We don't need to be driving at the ragged edge with a Frontier. Okay, let's talk about the ride. So these Bilstein shocks, they're unique to the, I think the Pro-X gets them as well. The Pro-X being just the 2-wheel drive version of this. Pro-X and Pro-4X. very nicely tuned. And I think a common misconception with these midsize trucks is that they're all going to be stiff, they're all going to be bouncy, and some of them are. I was driving a Ranger XLT last week, and I didn't film it for Topher drives, but you'll see it on the Topher and Winding Road magazine, and that thing was just a total dumpster fire. Not only was it the same price as this Frontier, and it had no heated steering wheel, it had cloth seats, it didn't have auto climate control, it had a bass sound system. It was really not a nice product from Ford, and I'm surprised that they gave us one that was that spec to begin with, but that was very stiff and bouncy. This Nissan Frontier, you get a little bit of bounce just because it is a truck. It's body on frame, of course, but the bumps are soaked up nicely. There's this really smooth butteriness to these Bilstein dampers, and I really appreciate that because, like I said in the beginning, most of these trucks are going to be used for daily drivers. You're not buying a Nissan Frontier PRO-4X strictly to go Baja in the desert or go off-roading every single day. This is the kind of thing that you need this truck to do. Let's actually stop and see how it gets off the line. I'm going to put it in tow mode, and then I'm going to turn traction off because it is very safe and intrusive. So I'm not going to brake boost it. Let's just kind of roll into it and do a 0 to 60. See there, pretty good sound from that 3.8 liter. This is a big V6. You got to remember they have to replace those turbos with some displacement. The V6 in the Ranger is a 2.7 or a 3 liter if you get the Raptor. Actually had a pretty surprising amount of grip there off the line. Yeah. Stability control helping us a little bit there. I was trying to see if maybe it would drift, but I don't think it really wanted to. Let's turn everything back on. Only one warning light left. That's what we like to see. But even like NVH, you get some wind noise, but as much as these Hancooks kind of suck in the traction department, they're pretty quiet. I'll give them that. And it's all about trade-offs, right? Like, you're not ever going to have a perfect all-terrain tire that has great traction, that's quiet, that's good in the wet, that's good in the snow. They can never really do it all. So while this one is very sketchy in the rain, even in the dry it doesn't have a ton of grip, it is at least a quiet tire. So when you're commuting on the highway, it's one less thing you have to listen to. Speaking of commutes, let's jump on the highway and we'll talk about livability with this Nissan Frontier. Nine-speed gets a little bit confused from time to time. And I think it really just gets confused from the throttle tuning because the accelerator pedal, you're always wanting to go, go, go. You're giving more of an input than you probably want to, which confuses the transmission. However, this 9-speed does shift very smooth. I've had no misshifts with this, no clunky shifts. It's a really, really nice transmission. Honestly, when Nissan makes an automatic that's not a CVT, they know what they're doing. Even with the dual clutch and the GTR is nice, the 9-speed in the Z, which is probably related to this because this is still a VQ 38 or whatever they call it. So I'm sure it's a very similar transmission. That's a rare X5 in front of us. That is the BMW X5M xDrive 40i. Why do we add M badges to our non-M products, folks? Oh, we're gonna have to get by this Suzuki. I don't want to merge behind that. Okay, let's get this Frontier merged onto the highway, and I'll give you a second to observe our NVH. let's set our cruise control. So super simple setup here with our steering wheel controls. We have adaptive cruise, but that's about it for our driver aids. There's a couple more things here and there, but you know, this will not drive itself down the highway is what I'm trying to say. We've got some wind noise. Hey, dude, we're getting all the proper Nissan experiences today. He flies past me just to get off the exit. Some kind of a whining noise actually that I'm hearing right now. I don't know what that is. Some sort of like rotational, harmonical noise at 78 miles per hour. Maybe it's the diff. You guys hear that? I don't know. We'll try and ignore it. Hopefully it makes it to downtown. We're going to talk about what it's like to sit in this Nissan Frontier. Honestly, I think Nissan does some of the best seats in the business. The zero gravity seats that I think we had them in the Altima. Are they all zero gravity? Are these zero gravity? They're super comfortable, super soft and plush. Even this leather material is pretty soft, does the trick. We have a lumbar adjustment on the driver's side, not on the passenger side, but that is a power seat over there, which is nice. Elbow comfiness, pretty decent as well. It's a firm squish here on the center console, but I like ergonomically the seating position where I can rest my hands on this steering wheel. Visibility out of this is really nice. You sit plenty high up. These side windows, the door panels actually sit low enough. I mean, it's easy to see out of. It's old school. I feel like I'm in a 90s truck. It's just like a big fishbowl. Steering actually gets a little bit light once you're up to speed, and obviously not the most direct steering. It is a pickup truck at the end of the day, so steering feel, it's really not the best, but I honestly, this is one of those rare cases where I do actually like the heaviness of it at low speeds. Okay, well, as we finish out this highway section here, why don't we do a sound system test on this Fender 10-speaker sound system. When is the last time we saw a Fender system? I think maybe in the Volkswagen GLI. That was a terrible system, so let's see how this one is. Right, a little bit of a demo there of that 10-speaker Fender. I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm not a huge fan of this sound system. I think it's probably one of the worst optional sound systems I've heard. It's not terrible, but I think if Nissan were to put a Bose in here like they do with all of their other cars, I think it would be a lot better. I don't know why we have to get special treatment here for the Frontier. Maybe just because the Fender system is a little bit cheaper to produce. But come on, give us a good Bose. I mean, I like the Bose system in the Altima, in the Sentra. That is a very cool looking Toyota Yaris. Looks like some sort of like factory body kit on that. And rally lights. Ooh, that's fantastic. Okay, we are passing the store because I don't need anything from there today on this rare occasion. But as we pass by that lime green Tacoma, I am reminded that we haven't talked about kind of comparing to other trucks in the segment and kind of how this stacks up. So I told you guys about the Ford Ranger. I'd pick this over that all day. I think the value proposition here is a lot nicer than it is with a very similarly priced Ranger. An XLT Ranger, which is only one up from base, is going to be just about the same price as this. With the Chevy Colorado, the Trail Boss, it's about the same starting price, around $40,000. But remember, with that, you get a plastic steering wheel, super plasticky interior altogether. I think for $50,000, you could probably get a pretty similarly spec'd Colorado. But that has a 4-cylinder turbo, and I don't think I like that engine as much as I like this 3.8 liter. I do like the Colorado, but I almost feel like I would pick a Frontier over it. The hardest choice for me would be between this and a Tacoma, because I do think they are the two best in the segment, in my opinion. The only problem with the Tacoma is that it does feel a little bit plasticky inside, and while there are some hard and offensive plastics in this Frontier, I honestly don't think they're as offensive and terrible as some of the plastics in the Tacoma. Even on the high trim TRD Pro, the interior just doesn't feel right in that. I don't know what it is. There's still some things that they need to fix. I mean, everything rattles. Even in some of the latest 2025 model Tacomas that I've driven, they have rattled quite a bit. So you guys can hear over these bumps. Nothing in here is rattling. Sure, we have a warning light for some sort of faulty sensor, and the shift boot comes off also. But you gloss over those couple of things, it does feel very nicely built. It does feel like it feels like a hard body. I try to avoid saying the word solid because I think it's kind of a silly buzzword. Anyway, I mean, it's been a nice truck to live with this week. It's easy to get in and out of. Ergonomically, I think it's fine. Fuel economy is not the best, but it takes regular, so it's not going to break the bank running this thing. If you're really careful, driving in a warmer climate, I think you'd have no problem getting 20 miles to the gallon. Lots of physical switches. No four-wheel drive auto, but you do have this switch down here to put yourself into 4 high or 4 low. You can change gears manually as well. I meant to show that earlier, though. It does go in the wrong direction. You can see I'm pushing down to downshift. I know that sounds like it should be right, but it is inherently backwards. So we're going to drive this into the parking structure, show you guys maneuverability, and then we'll put it in a parking spot and we'll see how it fits there. But mainly I just wanted to kind of get the point across today that a lot of outlets rate the Frontier very low, and I really can't work out why. I mean, I think it was Car and Driver I was looking at. They rate this below everything. The only trucks that they rank this ahead of are the Jeep Gladiator and the Ineos Grenadier. That's it. Every other truck in the segment they rank above this. And I don't really understand why, because I think this does the job of being a truck so well. Even though the turning circle is really not the best. We are going to get this in here though, without incident. There we go.
Please select an event from the screen menu. Welcome. Please.
That was not me, that was a skateboarder. Let's put our ticket up in the visor. And let's squeeze this Frontier up here. 7'8" clearance, that's no problem. I see F-250s in the structure all the time, so we will be okay. But you do have to be mindful because this is not a very quick steering rack. You have to do a lot of steering. This is a good size. This is the other thing is, I think this is really all the truck that you need, especially if you're a casual truck driver, like these people that just use their trucks as daily drivers and put them in parking structures, or, you know, this guy here with his F-150 sticking out. You can tow 6,600 pounds and do leisure things. 1,600 pounds in the bed is fine. And as far as daily driving goes, having a truck that's this size, it makes more sense. It's more usable. So I don't know why more people don't buy the trucks in this segment. Backseat is usable enough. I don't know, but anyway, just to completely sum this up, I think the Frontier is a nice overlooked option. People kind of turn their noses up at Nissan, and I don't think they should. Go out, drive a Frontier, see what you think, compare and contrast to other trucks. But for me, it would be between this and a Tacoma in this segment. I don't think you can go wrong either way. They both have their pros and cons. But I think the Japanese still kind of rule this segment. Even the Honda Ridgeline is nice, but I know that's a little bit of a sore subject since that is not a body-on-frame truck. All right, let's get this parked up on the roof. We'll give you one last look at this Frontier PRO-4X. Actually, let's end right here today because I want to just stick this in a parking spot and show you guys how it fares. We are losing grip up here. While this is a low quality backup camera, sure, it does the job for when you're parking, which is what you're doing most of the time. Depth perception is a little bit hard. Okay, sticking out a little bit. Let's put our foot parking brake on. Shut this off. The start-stop button is in a little bit of a weird place, so at least you can see it through the steering wheel, so you can kind of aim your finger. But I've been hitting the auto stop-start on-off switch this week as my on-off engine button. We got 15 miles to the gallon on that trip. With the bit of spirited driving we did at the beginning, the 0 to 60 and everything, I would say that isn't too bad. If we wouldn't have done any of that stuff, we probably would have been somewhere around 16, 17 miles to the gallon. How close are we to this wall? Okay, so you could go back about another foot. Wow, that looked a lot closer on the camera. That's like a foot and a half even, maybe. But you can see it fits in the spot. We are sticking out a little bit. I think you could tuck that in a little bit more though and you'd be just fine. Cool, all right, well I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you agree with me on my thoughts here of the newly facelifted Nissan Frontier? Do you think it's still relevant in the segment? Would you have it? Would you pick a Ranger, a Colorado, a Ridgeline, or a Tacoma over it? Be curious to hear what you think, but I don't know. I think maybe I'd go for one of these. They're attainable. I think they're selling under sticker. So not a bad deal here, and not to mention, I meant to mention this in the beginning, the base model is like $30,000. So just a cheap, nice work truck. It could do everything for you. They all have this 3.8 liter V6. So I think it's a good solution, but cool. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.